Hey, I know you. You're that person looking for a pair of true wireless earbuds and you're trying to decide if you should spend $179 on the newer Nothing Ear 3 or $150 on the older Nothing Ear earbuds from 2024. Oh, and you're here too. You already have the Nothing Ear and you're trying to decide if you should upgrade. Looks like we've got all my favorite people in one place, so let's get into it. Starting with the design, at a glance, the Nothing Ear 3 and last year's Nothing Ear look pretty darn similar, but there are a few key differences to be aware of. The fit of the earbuds feels almost identical. Both pairs are equally comfortable for longer listening sessions, and they use the same stem design with pinch controls. That said, the Ear 3 buds are slightly heavier at 5.2 grams each, compared to the 4.6 grams for the 2024 Nothing Ear. Honestly, they feel a lot like wearing a slightly bigger AirPods Pro 3. The bulb is pretty big and they really give you that plugged up feeling when they're in your ears, which some people might have issues with. If you're not sure what I mean, stick your fingers in your ear and talk. That's what I mean by the plugged up feeling. It's kind of like you're underwater. Now the cases are where things start to diverge. Both have transparent lids, but the Ear 3 case uses a recycled aluminum base, while the 2024 Nothing Ear sticks with plastic. The Ear 3 case is also noticeably heavier, and you might notice this big talk button. That's because the Nothing Ear 3 includes Nothing's new super mic. That's right, it's got a super mic. And by pressing the talk button, you can activate the case's built-in beamforming mics to record voice memos or even take calls without touching your phone. It works across most major apps, though compatibility isn't totally universal, and it even transcribes your voice notes automatically if you have a Nothing phone. In everyday use though, holding the case up to your mouth like a walkie-talkie feels a little awkward. I'm not in a spy movie, I don't need to reach Delta Force command post. It's far more useful for quick voice memos than actual phone calls. Besides, you can just use the earbuds mic like any other pair, which makes the whole thing just feel a bit gimmicky. Who's gonna use this feature regularly? Honestly, I have no idea. Certainly not me, but we'll dig into it a bit more in the features section. Lastly, in terms of durability, both earbuds are IP54 rated, but the older Nothing Ear case bumps that up to IP55, making it just a bit more water resistant. That's not really a big deal in day-to-day use. Either pair can be used at the gym or for a rainy day walk without issue. Okay, controls. What about controls? There's gotta be a way to control these things. And yes, there is. Both models use pinch controls on the stem just like AirPod Pros, and I'll take pinch controls over tap controls any day of the week, my friend. I find tap controls can mess with your fit, especially if you get a little tap happy. No thanks. Pinch controls are where it's at. Nothing also allows you to personalize these controls via the Nothing X app, except for single pinch. Don't even think about it. That stays as play pause no matter what, because Nothing won't let you change that one. Now, when it comes to connectivity, the Ear 3 uses Bluetooth 5.4, while the older Nothing Ear runs on Bluetooth 5.3. Both support multi-point and low latency gaming modes, but codec support is where things start to get interesting. The Ear 3 supports SBC, AAC, and LDAC codecs. The older Nothing Ear supports all those same codecs, plus LHDC, a high-resolution codec that can stream up to 1 megabit per second. That is, of course, if you're using a compatible Android phone. You will need the right hardware to take advantage of it. Technically, with that codec, the older Nothing Ear can deliver a higher quality wireless audio experience, but in reality, most listeners won't notice much of a difference between LDAC and LHDC. Either way, you've got some solid codec options to consider. Shout out to my iPhone AAC gang though, right? Ow! Okay, so let's dive into features because both earbuds are feature packed. The standout addition to the Ear 3 is again that super mic. But like I was saying, holding the case like a walkie-talkie doesn't feel especially natural for phone calls. But it does work surprisingly well for quick voice memos, especially if you're someone who likes to capture your ideas on the go. Just press the talk button on the case and you'll be speaking through its beam-forming mics. That said, compatibility does depend on whether the app you're using allows manual mic selection, and some video recording apps may introduce a bit of audio lag, so you'll need to approach with caution. Otherwise, if you're using a Nothing phone, voice memos are automatically transcribed via a feature called Essential Space. Voice memo to shun, get more Gatorade for the office. Voice memo to shun, get more Gatorade for the office. Otherwise, both earbuds work with the excellent Nothing X app, which remains one of the best companion apps in the category. It includes firmware updates, an ear tip fit test, Find My Earbuds, and multi-point toggles. Most noticeably, it features a very powerful parametric EQ that lets you fine-tune individual frequencies right down to adjusting your Q value. You can also share your custom profiles via QR code, and there's also a simple 3-band EQ for quicker adjustments. Again, I gotta say a parametric EQ is something we'd love to see from more companies. Hey, Bose? Oh, Apple? How about that parametric EQ? What do you think? Maybe some EQ options on those AirPods? Wow, that'd be cool, right? Let's go, dudes. Time to step up that EQ game. Lastly, each model has a cool feature called Personalized Sound Profile, which is a built-in hearing test that adapts playback to your hearing sensitivity. The 2024 Nothing Ear uses Mimi hearing tech for this, while the Nothing Ear 3 uses Audiodo. Audiodo? 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 Audiodo. And both offer a bass enhance mode that dynamically boosts low-end frequencies in real time. With 5 intensity levels, it gives you a bit more flexibility than a standard bass boost, and it pairs pretty well with any manual EQ adjustments you've already made. Okay, so what's up with battery life? Boom, easy win for the older Nothing Ear 2024. In our testing, the Nothing Ear 2024 lasted just over 8 hours per charge with ANC on, while the newer Nothing Ear 3 managed just over 5 hours with ANC on. Interesting. That said, both support wireless charging and fast USB-C top-ups, but if you have a longer commute, you'll still need to reach for that charger a bit more often with the newer model. Okay, on to the microphones. The Super Mic does reduce clipping, but it also makes your voice sound kind of muffled and a bit robotic. The in-ear mics are a little better thanks to their bone conduction sensors, which helps separate your voice from background noise. But even then, calls weren't as clear as we'd like, especially in windier environments. Meanwhile, the older Nothing Ear keeps things simpler and more effective. Its 3-mic system with AI noise reduction consistently delivers clearer calls in our testing. Voices were slightly muffled, sure, but background noise, especially wind and street chatter, were far less noticeable. So if you are taking a lot of phone calls on the go, the older Nothing Ear is definitely the safer bet. But if you want to hear the full suite of microphone samples, I do suggest checking out the full reviews of each product at SoundGuys.com. Okay, how do they cancel noise? Both earbuds do a solid job blocking out background noise, but the newer Nothing Ear 3 takes this round. With a good seal, it can cancel up to 35 dB in low frequencies and 38 dB in the highs, which translates to about an 82% reduction in overall loudness. That's keeping up with some of the best noise canceling earbuds on the market. That said, the Nothing Ear 3 can be a little more sensitive to wind noise, especially if you're walking downtown or out on a breezy day. Cycling with these and ANC? Forget it. The older Nothing Ear, however, still holds its own. It reduces background noise by about 75%, with around 20 dB of attenuation in the lows and 30 dB in the highs, which is still pretty decent. So if you do want the strongest ANC performance, your search might end here with the Nothing Ear 3. Moving on to sound quality. Both earbuds deliver a bass-heavy sound, but man, the Ear 3 really cranks it up. You get plenty of low-end punch, but it can overwhelm vocals unless you dial it back in that EQ. Looking at the objective measurements, the Nothing Ear 3 has that very pronounced V-shaped tuning. Bass is significantly boosted way beyond our house curve, with a noticeable dip in the mid-range between 200 Hz and 1 kHz, with a bump in treble strength on top of that. Again, a little more than we'd like to see. This tuning can push vocals and guitars into the background and can make some tracks feel way too boomy, with the low end overtaking the rest of your mix. In my experience, the default tuning won't work for everyone, but fortunately, again, that is an easy fix. The older Nothing Ear, however, follows a similar approach with boosted bass and a bump around 5.5 kHz, but it's not as overemphasized. There's a slight dip around 470 Hz that again reduces mid-range frequencies a bit, but overall the tuning is less extreme than the Ear 3. The bass still hits hard, but it's less boomy, and the treble clarity is still there without sounding too shrill. If you like to EQ your sound and you want that extra energy in the bass, the Ear 3 can definitely work for you, but if you're after a better out-of-the-box listening experience with stronger mids and a more natural treble relative to our house curve, the older Nothing Ear is the better pick. Of course, we can't forget about those thorough EQ options. If you aren't afraid to spend some time tweaking some sliders, you can truly dial these earbuds in exactly how you want them. That's a huge plus. So, which pair of Nothing earbuds should you buy? The new Nothing Ear 3 for $179 or the old Nothing Ear 2024 for $149? Straight up, the older Nothing Ear from 2024 is honestly the better value for most people. They sound great right out of the box and require fewer EQ tweaks if you want to make any of those personal adjustments. They have longer battery life, better microphone performance, and support the same Nothing X app, again with all the EQ and personalization features you'd want. The addition of LHDC is also a nice touch if you're an Android user. Now, if you already own the older Nothing Ear and you're thinking about upgrading to the Ear 3, I'd say hold off unless the super mic really speaks to you. Sure, the new model improves ANC and it adds some hardware flair, but it also sacrifices battery life and doesn't sound better without some EQ work. You're not missing much, especially if you've already got the older ear dialed in. Either way, you've got two solid options, but unless you're all in on the Nothing ecosystem or you're dying to talk into your case, the smart move is sticking with or picking up the older Nothing ear. If you want to know more about the newer Nothing Ear 3 and all of its features and even more details on the super mic, you can check out our full review right over here. Happy listening. Did I say Nothing Ear a bunch? Ear 3, Nothing Ear 2024?